Hello and welcome to this lecture number 7, which is the second one of quantitative research. And we are going to focus on more the analysis part than really general research and also data collection, because that's in the first lecture, the lecture 6, the quantitative research one. So for this lecture, I will just go very quickly through the study design and the methods of data collection, just like a mini quick summary and something important in there about hypothesis, and then I will focus entirely on the analysis part. And for that, I will do like short videos instead of a long one. So regarding the study design, just remember, that's why I have the tick here, that make sure that the research question can be answered with the quantitative research, like try not to answer a process question or like a how and why question with a quantitative approach, because it's a bit incoherent. And then also ensure that the research problem requires generalization and testing for something, if something happens or not. And make sure that you have at least one hypothesis. And that's what we are going to talk about now. Because setting the hypothesis can be a bit tricky. First of all, maybe you learn from statistics that we usually have the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. But when we do research, we really don't need to have a null and alternative. We can just straight go to setting a hypothesis that more or less follows this formula in here. So for research, when you do your thesis and for these assignments, you don't need to write null and alternative. That is more in statistics. In here, you can go straight to the point to set the direct hypothesis. And this hypothesis, first of all, remember, is a statement, it's not a question. So that's the first thing you know. The research question and the hypothesis are two different things. The other thing is that the hypothesis, this is kind of a must that you need to have in mind, is that the hypothesis establishes a relationship between at least two concepts and assumes a direction of that relationship. It can be positive or negative. So you need to have this, it's like a formula as it is below. You need to have at least two concepts and to state if that relationship is positive or negative. So here is kind of, there are many ways of writing a hypothesis. You can say like an increasing level of concept A, or there is a relationship. There are many ways of writing it, but I think the very basic formula is like this. You have concept A has a, and then you say the positive or negative relationship with concept B. And also my view in here is that it's better to state the relationship rather than correlation, because correlation can be answered with a descriptive statistic. We're going to learn that about later, but the relationship is more complex. So I suggest to use the word relationship. So that's to start with. And always remember that you can, for this course during the tutoring sessions and when you are doing your thesis, you will meet your supervisor, who will help you with setting the hypothesis. But if you already have this in mind, if you already know that it's a statement that you have at least two concepts and that you need to state positive or negative relationship, I think that's the very basic. We can help you to improve. And then again, just like a quick summary from the previous lecture in terms of the methods of data collection, remember that there are many ways of collecting quantitative data, but in my opinion, you will end up using at least one of these two, surveys or archival data. And each of them have like different advantages and disadvantages. You just need to choose carefully. And sometimes you can't even choose because maybe you don't have access to one or the other. But usually surveys are a good approach because it's primary data, so you generate the data, so you can generate what you need. But the disadvantage is that it takes time and effort. And the archival data is kind of the opposite. It's usually easier to collect the data, but sometimes it's not the data that you need. So that's kind of the introduction. The next videos will be about the methods of data analysis. So I will stop this video in